Um,
Could actually just, yeah.
oh, no, but
Oh,
for the people
sorry,
that are
sorry,
here,
sorry.
yeah.
That's okay. You talk to the camera.
Sit in the dark.
Yeah.
It's really lovely to be here. And as I said, when I walked in, everyone knows that the heart of any synagogue is the daily minyan. So, call it kavod to you. Is it every day or Mondays and Thursdays?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Wow. Very, very beautiful, very impressive. Call kavod. Yay to Phyllis, who is all dressed up for the occasion. And we're gonna get some group pictures after this because I'm part of a WhatsApp group of other people like myself traveling around America. And we were sharing all the pictures of our gigs, but this one is gonna win the prize, the banner. That's great. There was another woman that got dressed up in New Haven for Purim. She got dressed up as Merkaz and she had this whole get up. But I would vote for this one. I like this one. Okay, so I just wanna tell you a little bit about myself so you know who is speaking to you. I was born in New Jersey to Israel-loving Holocaust survivors. And you might call me the poster child for the conservative movement. I went to Salman Schechter and Ramah, and I had all the requisite teen Israel experiences. And I even married a JTS rabbinical student from the Midwest, who some of you may know, David Epstein, from Highland Park. And when I graduated from Penn in the early 80s, I was hell-bent on becoming a rabbi, on Aliyah. So I dismissed my career thoughts of becoming a rabbi because at that point, to be thinking about being a female rabbi in Israel, that was just too much to, conceive of. And then after 7 years of being half of the Dynamo young rabbi and his wife team in a shul outside of Washington, D.C., I finally dragged my husband and our 3 little kids on Aliyah to Kibbutz Hanaton. You can put another pushpin in the poster child. And we lived there for 10 months. And then our 4th child was born in Jerusalem, where we have been ever since. And this summer, we're going to celebrate our 30-year Aliyah anniversary. David and I are one of the American conservative rabbinic couples that chose to embrace Masorti Judaism upon Aliyah, rather than go the easy flow and join the Orthodox shul that's around every corner in Israel. We searched for a Masorti shul and then a home within walking distance, that shul, where we raised our children among other Olim like ourselves, who soon became our family. When our children were grown and flown, we joined a Masorti shul, Mayanot, where I currently have the best volunteer job in any shul around the world. Immediate past president. Our 4 children range from totally secular to a modern Orthodox, very Zionist rabbi who recently spent 269 days away from his young family fighting in Gaza and in Lebanon. And he already has his his next call up, and he's going in on May 28th for another 76 days. So he'll be gone all of June and July. David and I work together professionally, helping families celebrate their children's B'nai Mitzvah at the Masorti Kotel, also known as Robinson's Arch. That's the place at the Kotel where it's egalitarian. And we are very involved in the struggle to strengthen pluralistic, democratic Judaism in Israel in the face of an ever rightward moving government. Which brings us to why I am here. What if I told you that with 5 minutes and $5, you could join me in working to ensure that Israel remains a democratic society where you will feel comfortable as a conservative Jew? What if I told you you could have a voice in how the Israeli government spends the vast sums being set aside to rebuild the devastated South, and the bombed out North? What if I told you that you could ensure that the conservative Masorti organizations around the world don't lose their annual allocation from $2 billion every year that belongs to the Jewish people as a whole, to you and to you and to you and to me? And what if I told you that with 5 minutes and $5, you could ensure that those $2 billion do not get diverted to ultra-Orthodox Haredim, whose children do not serve in the army, and many of whom don't pay taxes? And perhaps most important, my friends, is that I want to make sure that you understand it's not all just about money. In fact, the more important part is influence. The political makeup of the World Zionist Congress determines who serves in the leadership of its subsidiaries, namely the Jewish Agency and Keren Kayemet LeYisrael and others. More votes for Merkaz means more seats at the tables where these decisions are made, decisions about the democratic and pluralistic nature of Israel. What kind of decisions? Well, for starters, like who is considered to be a Jew when applying for Aliyah? That could directly affect those among you and your friends who are Jews by choice, through a reform or conservative conversion. So what do I mean when I say 5 minutes and $5? And here I have a confession to make. 10 years ago, like most Israelis, I hardly knew what Merkaz was. 5 years ago, ahead of the 2020 elections, I started to hear people talking about Merkaz in frontal presentations. And honestly, all I could understand was just, there was a lot of brain fog and like talking heads saying, wah, wah, Merkaz. I couldn't understand what it was as an Israeli. And when I was asked as a volunteer to be part of a team of people coming out to America to get the vote out, I promised myself that whatever I was going to say was going to be very different than the presentations that I had heard. And so I hope that I'm successful this morning making this understandable, because it is not so easy to understand. So let's just dive in. In 1897, Theodore Herzl convened the first Zionist Congress in the city of Basel, Switzerland. At that Congress, the World Zionist Organization was founded, which served as the umbrella organization for the Zionist movement and still does. Herzl's genius was recognizing that solving a political problem, i.e., achieving statehood, required a political approach. He understood that in order to build a broad-based movement with any chance for success in a Jewish world that even then was so diverse and decentralized, Zionism would need a democratic political approach, enabling as many Jews as possible to be invested in its success. And so Herzl politicized and indeed democratized the Zionist movement. In fact, only the very first gathering of the Congress was by invitation. By the second Congress, you had to have been elected by your local Zionist organization in order to attend. We Jews can take great pride in the fact that Zionism is one of the few political movements that right from the start required democratically elected representatives and included the full participation of women, which I am very proud to say. So what did they do at these congresses that met in those years, approximately every 2 years? And what did they do in the time between the congresses? Well, as we said, they worked furtively towards getting a state, which required managing and effectively harnessing all of these Zionist leaders from all around the world in practical directions and working committees. So imagine, if you will, for 51 years, from 1897 to 1948, the infrastructure of the state of Israel was already in place. The only thing they needed was the land. And the second thing that they did, most relevant to what we're talking about today, is they raised money. How many of you remember the little blue and white JNF boxes?
Yep.
This is a modern version. Yeah.
I think we have one in there.
Oh, wow. Yes, the very first GoFundMe campaign was the genius of the neonatal startup nation. You see, one of the roles of the World Zionist Organization from the get-go was to buy land in Palestine as a way of hastening and strengthening our foothold in our homeland. And the money for those purchases of the land came from these boxes, and the original branch of the WZO, of the World Zionist Organization, is today known as Karen Kayemet LeIsrael, which we say Kakal in Israel. And I have to say legally that Kakal is not to be confused with JNF USA, which is a separate charitable organization and does wonderful work. Okay, more about Kakal in a second. 51 years after the first Zionist Congress, the state of Israel was established in 1948. Hurrah! The Zionist movement had achieved its goal and made itself redundant. So you would expect that they would close up shop, right? Wrong. The institutions lived on and shifted into a new global role. After all, the Zionist movement had by definition been shaped by Jews outside of Israel. Jews around the world were stakeholders in its success. And so these institutions took on two new missions. The first was serving as a bridge between Jews in Israel and Jews in countries around the world. And that lives on today in what we know as partnerships and all of the back and forth between global Jewry and Israel Jewry. The second was managing the assets, the contents of these little boxes, and of course, more funds that belonged to the Jewish people as a whole, not to the fledgling state. Okay, now back to Kakal. Well, it turns out that the little blue and white box fund was very well managed. And today, Kakal is the largest Jewish nonprofit in the world, as well as the largest private landowner in Israel, owning 13% of all Israeli land, generating $2 billion in revenue annually from this land. And this is where the $2 billion that I mentioned in the beginning of my talk comes from. But because the lands were acquired by money donated by your grandparents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents, it is money that does not belong to the Israeli government. It belongs to Jewish people everywhere, to you and to you and to you and to me. So, wouldn't it be great to have seats on the boards of directors of Kakal and the World Zionist Organization and the Jewish Agency and Karen Ayesod, and be able to take part in decisions regarding how these $2 billion are spent? Well, guess what? We do. We do have seats on those tables. How? Why? Because the composition of the seats on the boards of directors is based on the percentage of votes received by each slate in the World Zionist Congress elections that are taking place now and take place every 5 years. And this, my friends, is the essence of everything that we're talking about this morning. And it is how your $5 and your 5 minutes through your vote for Merkaz directly determines how $2 billion is spent annually. The more seats we have on the boards, the more we can ensure that we get our fair share of budgets to fund projects that advance a pluralistic, democratic vision for all of Israel, as well as specific Masorti conservative causes in Israel and worldwide. So at this point, you should be saying, okay, well, what's the problem? We have seats on the board. And why are you here from Israel? Why are they sending people out to America to get people to vote? What is the urgency? The answer is that in 2020, an extremist, Haredi, ultra-Orthodox American organization entered the arena, and with very little effort, their slate garnered almost 20% of the seats in the World Zionist Congress that are allocated to the United States. This new unknown slate made it look like 20% of American Jews are Haredi ultra-Orthodox, when in truth, they comprise about 4%. But more important, listen to what they write on the landing page of their website. And here I'm quoting, I am not slandering. Quote, "We did it once, we will do it again. If 25,000 votes in 2020 made a difference, 100,000 votes will change everything. Be'ezras Hashem." In 2020, we secured a right-wing majority in the World Zionist Organization, which redirected tens of millions of dollars to protect Torah values in Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. This election, let's not just do it again. Let's change everything. End quote. Well, what do they mean by change everything? Given the Israeli government's lack of recognition of non-Orthodox Judaism in the Jewish state, the Jewish Agency has for years been one of the sources of millions of dollars for non-Orthodox denominations in Israel. But if Merkaz and our reform partners at Artsenu don't win enough seats in this Congress, these ultra-Orthodox extremists are clearly saying that they will target our funding for elimination. You all already know we are struggling mightily in Israel against the radical right wing, which has taken over our government. This attempt at changing the face of the World Zionist Organization is just more of the same. Now, I understand it might be distasteful for some of you, for me to be speaking negatively about other Jews. And I am a big believer in live and let live. Shiv'im panim laTorah, 70 faces of the Torah, and all of that. Until you tell me I can't pray the way I want to in my country, until you tell me that my husband can no longer officiate at B'nai Mitzvah because the Masorti egalitarian kotel is closed, or that the more than 40 Israeli and visiting families that come to this location every Monday and Thursday will no longer be able to celebrate in an egalitarian setting. Until you tell me that by performing a wedding, my husband could risk incarceration. And this has already happened to a Masorti rabbi. Until you tell me that there's a law on the books forbidding women to carry a Torah into the Kotel area, and this law exists and is enforced every month when women of the wall pray at the Kotel. So what can you do to help? We Israelis are beyond grateful for all the help that you, the North American Jewish community, has showered on us always, and especially since October 7th. Financial help in the billions, physical help in the form of volunteering and solidarity missions, and emotional and political help fighting for us all over the world. to bring our hostages home. But right here and right now, with $5 in 5 minutes, your help is essential. It could not be more simple. Please vote for Merkaz. And then when you're done, open your phone and send a message and call every Jewish person you know that is going to be 18 by June 30th and ask them to do this for you. Don't worry if you can't explain everything I just said. It has taken me months to understand how the World Zionist Congress works, and every day I learn something new. But what you can say to your friends and your family and every Jewish person you know is, you know me, you trust me. Just do this for me. It's $5 and 5 minutes. And then if they want to know more, you can try to explain it to them. And if you don't have the words to say it, Phyllis and your captains will help you. There is so much material online that's available at the drop of a hat. But most people really don't want to know all the details. They just want to do it because you asked them to do it. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but these people have birthdays and they say, hey, it's my birthday. Can you give a donation to the local animal shelter because I want you to? That's it. And it's no big deal. Well, this is really an important cause. I have a dog, animals are important, but this is really, really important. So just ask your friends to do this for you. Your family alone, your nuclear family could be as many, all of your cousins and their children and their children. Could be as many as 50 votes, maybe 100 votes. If everyone in every conservative setting in America just got their personal little orbit to vote, you can't imagine how many votes that would be. Finally, one last thing that is very important. Voting for Merkaz is a binary situation. By not voting, you are voting for the other team. In 2020, only 2% of American Jews voted in the World Zionist Congress. That's 125,000 people out of over 6 million that can vote. Only 2% of American Jews took advantage of this democratic chance to have their voices heard. And by the way, of the 125,000 that voted, 25,000 were the extreme ultra-Orthodox and 15,000 was Merkaz. So what's going to happen now is they're going to flood the voting. It's very easy when you live your life by what the rabbi says to do. They are going to flood the voting. They got 25,000 votes last time. I don't know, maybe they're going to get 100,000. Maybe they're going to get 200,000. And all that means is it takes more votes to get a seat, because the number of seats is the number of votes divided by the total number of people. And that's how it works. We're not going to get the same raise in numbers of votes that they are, because our population is a little bit more thinking and a little bit less falling into line and harder to get to do things. So it's really, really important that you, in addition to voting yourself, get everyone you know to vote. So thank you for listening until now. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope I wasn't a talking head and that you were able to understand how this works. And I'll answer any questions about anything way beyond their
I have
class.
a question.
Yes,
I know about the Haredi movement in Israel. In fact, I have a friend whose son is like it. Mr. Haredi.
Mr. Haredi.
Yeah, his kids though are
Moving
moving
away.
away, going to school in Jerusalem, don't want any part of it.
Okay.
And, he has like 12 kids. But I never realized how many Haredis were actually in the United States. It sounds like there's a lot.
4% of the population and growing rapidly.
The Jewish.
The Jew,
Yes.
the Jewish population.
They're mostly in New York and New Jersey, so.
Yeah.
Haredi, how about in Miami?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. You can read
Parts
in
of East Rogers Park, frankly.
in the latest Pew study, there's a lot of information about the Haredi community, but it's also not easy to get all the information. It's hard to collect information.
So I have two questions. One, continuing that is, like I have family my husband's family is Israeli, and he has family in Texas that goes, I think primarily to Chabad. Is Chabad, like if I were to tell them to vote, am I voting, am I creating, and they are religious, they're observant, but I don't think they're Haredim.
The people that go to Chabad?
No, my family is part of that. My sister-in-law wears a wig,
She's not gonna vote for Merkaz.
No.
That's true.
I don't know if she's gonna vote for this party. There are other religious parties. There are 20 slates, by the way. Merkaz is
22.
one.
22.
There, two of them are blank.
Oh, two of them are black.
Yeah, look carefully. Yeah, two of them are blank. There's 20 slates running for Merkaz. They're blank because they
One is
reserved
number
themselves
13.
space and then they ditched.
Mm.
But anyway, it
Oh,
doesn't matter. There's
okay.
20, approximately 20 slates. We're number 17. But there are more than one religious slates out there. We don't have any problem living in peace around a boardroom table with religious Jews. And in fact, all of these organizations have lived in peace with religious Jews since the early 1900s. Mizrahi, which is the original religious Jewish party in Israel and all over the world. They're the Orthodox Jews that you know, mainstream modern Orthodox Jews. They've been involved in the World Zionist Congress since the early 1900s. Like really by the third Congress, they said, you know what, this is a lot of secular Jews, but we want to be involved too. And we make a lot of decisions together with religious Jews around those tables. They're not looking to eliminate us. This group is looking to eliminate everyone that is democratic and pluralistic. It's a very different agenda.
Mhm.
And that's very important to understand that this is new news. This is very urgent. And that's why we're out here, because as some older gentleman said to me at the Board of Governors of the Jewish Agency that I was at just before I left the country, he said to me, people don't understand it, but with this little $5, this could change the course of Jewish history, not just Israeli history. If the World Zionist Congress becomes the playground of the ultra-Orthodox right, that's a huge change since 1897. And I mean, I hope that it doesn't happen, but it really could. It really could happen.
I think what you're also saying is that if that happens, we could be not recognized anymore.
Of course. Of course, absolutely. It's not just a funding issue. It's the character of the Jewish state. All of the influence that we have at important tables, sitting on the board of directors of the Jewish Agency in Israel is a very important thing. And the same for sitting on the board of directors of Karen Kayemet, Israel, $2 billion. These are very important organizations that make policy decisions in Israel and affect what goes on in the Knesset a lot. Because remember, the Israeli government also wants part of this $2 billion, and they want to be in good relations with the boards of directors of Kakal and the Jewish Agency. They work very closely together. So, and everyone knows that the Jewish community in America is the second largest Jewish community in the world after Israel, and donates so much money to Israel. And to alienate the North American Jewish community, not good for the state of Israel and for its budget. And they know that. So we have leverage. But in order to use that leverage, we have to be sitting in the room. We have to have a seat at the table. And we only get seats by these votes.
I had the
Go ahead,
second part of
follow.
my questions was sort of the other side. So my daughter was looking at the list and she said, she's looking at the progressives and she said, don't they sort of cancel each other out? Or like if she were to vote for another progressive party,
So
that would get another progressive at the table.
Yes,
Like
yes.
Hatifa, for example.
Yes, there's a lot of left-wing progressive Jews in America that are going to vote for Hatikva. It's not a bad thing. If we have to choose between Hatikva and these other guys, we take Hatikva. Why? Because on the floor, when there is a vote, and this happened, there was something called the Extraordinary Congress. It was during COVID, it was one day, it wasn't the real thing. The real thing is coming in October. There was a vote that was being put forth by this right-wing extremist party, trying to, take the first steps of pushing us out of the room. And all of the liberal parties, of course, banded together and had enough votes together to overturn them. But if they get enough votes, then they have the majority, then we have no leverage. Then everything they vote, there'll be nothing we can do. So right this minute, we're still okay. There are some parties that are so, shall we say, esoteric. They're not going to get enough votes to barely even get one seat. That's really a thrown away vote. Hatikva is most certainly going to get enough votes to be a force. But also remember that the more votes you have as a slate, the stronger a part of the block you are, and the more other people want you for their votes. So the more votes Merkaz has, the stronger voice we have in making sure that we get our little share of the action. So we're about two things. We're about the general state of Israel, the general state of the state of Israel in terms of democracy and pluralism. And we're also about getting our budgets for our things, for Masorti things all over the world. And I didn't mention any of those things. Do you want me to say what the Masorti funding goes to? I can do that. I didn't want to
Sure.
sort of bore you. So first of all, you'll laugh, but your men's club and your sisterhood gets money from this $2 billion. It's a small little grant, but there is a line that in synagogues, North American conservative synagogues, there's a little line for men's clubs and sisterhoods. USY Israel programming gets money from Kakao. You know that Camp Ramah has a huge program of bringing shlichim, Israeli staff, to camp. That is all funded by money from the $2 billion from Kakao. And Ramah is so prominent in the shlichim industry. There's a special office for Ramah in the Jewish agency in Israel, because we have such a big shlichim program, probably bigger than any other single movement or camp in the United States. That is all money from this $2 billion. Also, shinshinim. Do you know what a shinshin is? Do you have those there? Shinshinim are shnat sherut. These are post-high school, pre-army young Israelis that are in communities all over the United States. They live in the community and they do programming, mostly in the schools with the youth groups, and they bring Israeli programming to America. That's money from Kakao. There's an organization called Masorti Olami. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It is the organization that supports and provides help and funding and programming for conservative Jews around the world. There are Jews that subscribe to our form of Judaism everywhere, from Bogota to Paris, to London, to Australia, to New Zealand. And some of these Jews are in far-flung places and need support from a central body for funding and for programming support. The entire budget of Masorti Olami comes from Karen Kayemet L'Israel, because we have a voice there from the $2 billion. Also, I don't know if you know this, but Masorti Olami was critical in supporting the Jews in the Ukraine when the war started and Jews needed to be airlifted or supported or fed or housed or moved from an unsafe place to a safe place. All of that was done by Masorti Olami, because they have people on the ground, as does the Jewish agency. And all of this comes from the money from Kakao. Now we move to Israel. The Masorti movement in Israel gets a lot of money for the staff and for their programming and for making sure that there is an egalitarian kotel and all of those things. This money comes again from that $2 billion. The money supports Machon Shechter, which trains conservative rabbis in Israel, and also has a degree granting program in master's degrees and PhDs in Jewish studies that hundreds of secular Israelis graduate from and participate from annually. It's a very big program. There's also a program in Israel called Tali, which is it's like a conservative stream of education on the elementary school and high school level in Israel. And it's basically, the easiest way to describe it is it teaches Israeli children about Judaism through a pluralistic lens, which you may know in Israel, our school system is divided, religious, secular, and never the twain shall meet. And Tali is this educational stream that goes into the secular schools so that these children will hear about Shabbat and will see a Torah, and they know nothing. In the secular schools, they learn zero about religion. They don't learn a word of Bible. They know nothing. So that's what Tali was created for. Also, there's a very active youth movement from the conservative movement in Israel called Noam. And Noam also exists around the world. There is, in America, all of the pluralistic seminaries that train rabbis get money from the $2 billion. And Ramah camps get funding for Israel education. In addition to the Shlichim, there's funding for Israel programs in the camps, and Ramah Seminar, and Tichon Ramah Yerushalayim, which is a program for high school aged American kids to go to Israel, and on and on and on. So we have our own places that special designated funds come to. It will be wiped out in 1 second if we lose our ability to fight their camp in the World Zionist Congress.
A question.
Yes,
How many people does it take to get one seat?
it depends on how many votes there are. It's like the Israeli Knesset. A seat is equal to the number of people that voted divided by the number of slates. And it gets more complicated than that. This is where everybody's eyes glaze over.
There's a threshold to get it in your slate.
Yes, but it's not just America. There are 535 seats, literally attendees at the World Zionist Congress. 535. Think of it as a pie. That 535 is divided into 3/3. And now I'm going to tell you just a word about each third. And it gets glazing, so
Okay.
sit tight. The first third is Israel. I don't get to vote in the World Zionist Congress as an Israeli. My vote is my vote to the Knesset. However, the Knesset's 120 seats is divided, that exact picture is replicated in the Knesset. So, for example, over 50% of the 120 seats in the Israeli Knesset right now belongs to the Likud party. So Likud thinking people take up half of the Israeli 1/3 of the votes. So already we're in trouble there because we're not represented by more than half of the Israeli 1/3. The second third, this third over here, is all the rest of the world, all the Jews in the world who have World Zionist Congress elections separate from America. Like there's elections in Chile, and there's elections in England and France and Switzerland. Every country has its own World Zionist elections. They're tiny, they're small, the number of seats are tiny. And all of those countries put together, except the United States, is a third. Okay? So imagine that maybe, I don't know, Merkaz, I don't even know the number. I got to get the number of how many of that 150 or so votes is Merkaz. It's I think probably the biggest number of the whole thing, but still it's a small number. And then the third is America, which helps you to understand
America, just United States.
just the United States, not Canada. Which helps you to understand why our third is so important. We are a third of the picture, a third of the votes. And the more votes we get, the more influence we have. So there is no Merkaz third in the Israeli third. There's no Merkaz seat in the Israeli third, because we're not a political party. Conservative Judaism is not a political party, so we are not represented in the Israeli third at all. We are represented somewhat in the rest of the world third, but our big showing is in the American third.
But we do have allies in the Israeli Knesset, so like,
Yeah, we do. We have
the
allies.
Yair Lapid party is not gonna vote against us having a Robin.
No, but the Yair Lapid party is the minority
That's
in,
true.
in the third now, you
I just
know.
didn't wanna make it seem like we have no allies at all. It is-
We have allies, but we don't have a political representation, which, by the way, if anyone in your family, your college-age grandchildren want to vote for Hatikva, explain to them that Merkaz is not affiliated with any political party. We have no debts to pay to anybody, and we don't have to answer to anybody on any vote in any way. Hatikva is aligned with the Labor Party and Meretz and other parties as well, which means that they have to vote a certain way. They do not have independence at the Congress. They must do what's called, in Hebrew, it's party discipline. They have to vote with the Labor and the Meretz party. Now, usually what Labor and Meretz are voting is okay by us. But if it weren't, then we would be in trouble because we would not be able to align with them on that particular vote. So remember, Labor and Meretz, our causes are important to them, but they have other causes that are more important to them. We're the only ones worried about our cause specifically. Our best partner is Artsenu, the reform movement, because pretty much all of our concerns align with them. And we work very carefully and very closely with them and in any issues at the Congress. And that's very important to know. They always get more votes than we do. Their machine works a lot better than ours, but we're doing much better now than we ever did before.
When you say that, the Haredis want to, get rid
Get
of all
rid
of
of
us,
us.
do they also include the Orthodox or modern Orthodox?
No. No, do they want to get rid of the modern
Yeah.
Orthodox? No,
No,
they want to get rid of us who have, we don't have Torah values.
according to them.
Yeah, so they want to get rid of us. I'll tell you something a little scary. I'm a pretty big phone junkie, and I belong to a WhatsApp group. You know, Israelis love WhatsApp much more than Americans. I belong to a WhatsApp group. It's called Baka. Baka is a neighborhood in Jerusalem. Some of you may know about it. And a large population of Baka is American Olim, who like to live their lives in English. So it's an English WhatsApp group, and it ranges from I'm looking for a 3-bedroom apartment to I need a chiropractor to my dog is lost to, don't patronize this business. Like, just like I need a babysitter, all kinds of stuff like that. And a lot of people like me are in the group who are pluralistic, liberal thinking Jews. 3 days after the voting opened last week, a post came up and said, friends, you may not even have heard of the World Zionist Congress, but voting opened. And I hear that the Reform and conservative Jews are trying to take over the Congress and push their LGBTQ and To'eva, which means abomination, To'eva agenda in the World Zionist Congress. And she attached the link for those guys, for the bad guys that I told you about. And she said, please vote to protect Eretz Yisrael. And I was shocked. In this very liberal Anglo group, this woman spoke out. And it was, this is what we're dealing with. It took me really by surprise. Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of a scary time, but you do have the capability of making a big dent. Each of you could bring in hundreds of votes if you apply yourself. And you have till May 4th. It's a long time. And you can get every Jew that walks in the front door of this shul to vote. If you set up a table and have a laptop and meet everybody that comes in during the week. You can't do it on Shabbos, obviously, but every event that's not on Shabbat from now till May 4th, you gotta get everybody to vote. And you gotta get all of your family and your friends. And that's it. Yes.
I just wondered if now that things feel more dire,
It is dire.
whether your outreach is gonna be more consistent, like even every year going towards the next cycle, especially in Hebrew schools where the kids they have no, idea.
Yeah.
of-
The problem is people have a limited attention span. And you can't start talking about something 5 years before in a big way. You can
No, in a
mention it.
small way where
you
you're
know, the
planting
teacher,
seeds.
Yes, absolutely. But the real push has to come. Like they started this push 2 years ahead. The captains, I don't know when you guys were engaged.
2 years.
This past year.
Yeah, so the work started in Israel in earnest in the campaign office of Merkaz 2 years ago. They, for the first time, hired a campaign director, your friend Daniel, who is a very intense young man. This is the first time we're doing this in this way. No one has ever been sent out to speak. And there's never been captains. And Daniel has captured the email addresses of several 100,000 Jews in America through the synagogue captains. So they're working on it. They're building a system. And it will only get better. And we'll learn from the mistakes that we made along the way, this time, and try to get better. And we'll see. We're hoping for good response. But you're right, the fight is far from over. Even after May 4th, they're gonna start gunning for, 2030. So that's where we're gonna be.
So, all of you can be helping us, Michael
Very
and
much.
me, about how to best do this. I mean, we were told, get everybody to call 10 people they know. Well, some have already voted. I mean, I was thinking we would just all, and there are people who were gonna come who weren't here. But to split up the names of the people, members in the congregation and call them,
Absolutely.
because they all don't walk to our door. They all don't come to our door.
What do you say? Not everybody comes to shul every week. I understand. No. You should know that my own shul in Jerusalem, I'm the captain. We're dividing up all the Americans in the shul because we have 76 American families in our shul. And we are breathing down their necks to call their relatives in America. So we're doing the same.
Okay, all right.
I think also relevant, expatriate Israelis, for all of us who know some who are here right now, if they did not vote in the last recent Knesset election, which was at the end of 2022, they can vote in this election. So it's their opportunity to participate in their own.
And you can
No.
say it to them in a positive way. You may not have had a chance, there's no absentee ballots in Israel. You have to physically fly to vote. It's a crazy rule. So you can say to them, if you feel bad that you didn't get to cast your vote, this is an opportunity. By the way, one more thing I didn't tell you, the Israeli government appointed the World Zionist Organization as the distributor of the funds of all the money to rehabilitate the North and the South. I said that in the talk, but I don't think it comes clear. It means that the decisions of how to spend that money are being made at those tables. And if the Haredim say, they don't need to rebuild their houses so much, let's divert that money to the Torah strengthening law, then it will be. And that's it. So it's really important. It's not just about conservative Judaism. Yes, they are.
Really now the budget discussion.
The day before I left the country, I woke up in the morning and what they do is they meet in the Knesset overnight and they vote. And they don't, the liberal parties don't have enough votes to oppose them, so they don't need to even show up. It doesn't matter. You can raise your hand. It won't make a difference. They all come, the ruling coalition, they come, they stay up all night and they vote. I flew Wednesday, I woke up Tuesday morning and 40 million shekels had been diverted Tuesday morning to 5 different Haredi causes. Torah retention, Torah this, preschool, Haredi preschools, and 2 more. It's,
That's how they keep the coalition.
yes,
Otherwise-
otherwise they threaten to leave. And you know, Ben-Gvir came back into the coalition because Bibi started bombing in Gaza again. So, you know, whatever you think about re-entering Gaza, it just means that Ben-Gvir is back. It's just a benefit. So it's a really bad time for us in Israel politically. And this is more of the same.
Charles, we're recording this or no?
I actually did, but I didn't ask first, so if it's okay, we can share the recording.
Oh,
with
my
our
God,
members.
yes, please do. And absolutely.
And everybody take out your phones.
Did
I'm
everybody
not
here
voting.
We
vote?
didn't
Just
vote.
did.
Vote.
Yeah.
And before I leave, I need to get a picture with all of you with Miss Merkaz in the middle. Because, you know, if he didn't take a picture, it didn't happen.
And so I got a text, so that was about voting, was that because of you guys getting our information out there? I got a
Oh.
text.
They probably gave your,
I don't know if we've been that relentless, have we?
No,
if you got a text, then the synagogue,
From America's
the
USA.
synagogue gave your phone number
Yeah.
to Merkaz USA, maybe without your permission.
Somebody did.
I didn't, sorry.
No, I mean, it's fine. this
How
is what I
would that
sent to
happen?
my family, my immediate family right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't opened.
There's wonderful materials, by the way, that Phyllis and Michael have access to. It's
Yeah.
called a toolkit, the
Yeah.
Merkaz toolkit.
Yeah.
And there are stunning flyers
Some
and
here.
Yeah, got it.
and like something called FAQs and 10 questions and any information that you want is there. But our experience and also it was, they did focus groups. The less information, the better.
Yeah.
Just get people to do it because you want them to. That's pretty
Because they
much.
trust us, right?
I
That's what you
successfully
said.
have made a couple people vote lead by,
Just
I
say
hate to use
this
it lead by
information.
fear, but like, it
All
does
right.
work.
So
People
who needs, does
understand.
anybody needs help with the voting? It's a little glitchy.
Yeah,
I also have my laptop if you
And I
prefer
have
to
my
do it on your
laptop.
laptop. You did it?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, she did it.
Wonderful.
Who has not done it? Anybody here has not done it?
This was so easy.
Oh, I'm
Did
so
you do
glad.
it?
Because people,
Roselle?
some people had trouble.
During the time.
Oh,
Great.
you just did it during the time.
I had trouble, but
There you
then
go.
I sent them, or I called the number,
Well,
and
normally.
then I got.
They
an
meant to
email
do
back.
it.
They did it
Anyway.
with the pin. Yeah, you needed the pin.
We operated a booth right for him.
Yofi,
And a couple of days before that. we
did you dress up for this on Purim?
I dressed differently, but then I made this for myself that I could just put on anytime. I
It's
wanted.
fantastic.
Right.
All right, we have to get a picture.
With Merkaz on it.
Thank you all for being such good listeners.
Thank you for
talking.
And I know, I'm thanking you in advance for everything you're gonna do,
Yes.
because I know you're gonna work hard.
I have a question for you that's not that important, but, the Herut party, I keep getting an enormous amount of stuff from the Herut.
I don't know much about it. I think it's like, you know, right wing.
Surely it has to be,
It's
but,
Jabotinsky Begin, yeah?
but who's behind them? They kind of mask what they're about, but then they're the new Herut, I'm like, the new Herut?
I think, I don't know, I've never.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well,
It's like American Friends of Likud, but not actually saying it.
Where do you want us?
I don't know, where's the place for
Maybe
a
I'll
picture?
just.
Is there a sign in the lobby, American?
So
Friends?
can you give her that? Let's
Let's
say
do it
that.
here and there.
Who's Hatikva?
Tikva is the Labor Party related one. But I have plenty of friends who are like, I don't feel comfortable with religious organizations at all, but I definitely don't feel comfortable with nothing. And so I'm like, vote for Tikva. I just tell them, that's where you're at. That's the party that's gonna see.
Phyllis, right here. So we want the next thing with your, everything else. I just want to make you all feel good. I was in a very prominent synagogue last night in Chicago. And there were two people there. I'm not telling, I'm not telling where I was, but you all did a great job. Have you been to Highland Park? I am going tonight. Nobody named that to show up. And in my everyone, and I live for. Oh, wait, yeah, we will.
Yes, sure.
Is there a? Sure. Like this.
As tall as I am. Here.
Did you have to stand on the edge? Yeah. Thanks. Very good. That was great.
Scratch my arms there. This is okay.
We should all have only good news, so everybody, it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah. That's my husband. He graduated in '88. Yeah, a little bit before, but you know, it's good. All right, you've been there a long time, that's.
Yeah. My son. Or there's a lot of nerves, so. Sorry.
Okay, sounds good.
Taught Jewish music to all the children in Chicago for about 16 years. Roz has like big, loud. That's my mother. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes to my show. Yeah, he's having a lot. Yeah, his health was failing. He was in the hospital a number of times. He's rallying. Actually, just. Jim goes to the show. This, I should do this. Pretty. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
No.
And I'm gonna send it. Right now.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Of course. March is one of my captains in the show. Or there's.
Used to be the-
March, okay, now we have to send. Right near the hospital. Okay, so I used to. That's right there. Yes. Go to the. I went to the, in the. Yeah, I think that was the seeds of Russia. That's. Oh, yeah, we're. What is where we live? Yes, it's right near the tail. You know, the past promenade, looking over the old city. Yeah, I sent it, yeah, now we can send those pictures. You know, I forgot to say that he is such a, he's such a good friend. they're such an asset to our shore. And they had children in Beersheba, they had grandchildren in Beersheba, we had grandchildren. So we're always on the road, not together, but we're always talking to each other, driving to Beersheba.
Well, there's son-in-law worked here.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
And it was like that.
And that's, neighbor,
Right.
relation.
Right, he was here trying to.
Yeah. Yeah. We lived in Polka, 86 to 88. My husband was the intern for about 2 years. The God of mustard, in their cause. Yes. Wrote 117-page book about their cause. I read it last night. Oh my God. And many other things. All right, I wanna go to March. Let's get a picture. Just, you guys are like close buddies. March.
Thank you, well.
Nice to meet you. Do as much as you can. Yeah, you will. Okay, let's get a picture of March with Judy. That's terrific. I already sent it to Jim. I might hear from him. Sitting on his phone or not. No, it's bad. I mean, we're just in bed, it smells like so bad. And then pull it together. And then leave the hospital. So do that. Because he's good. Yeah. Oh, the thing is very, very, so it's not from this show. That's just general. General. Very hard. Oh, we didn't talk about that. So, you know, happy to think of you, or whatever. Also happy to talk to you. That's also something. Maybe, you know, put our contribution and support to make this all but it's something. And another day, try that. Watch it. Especially serve food. Yeah, real food, pizza, like order pizza. I don't know, that brings people, yeah. Yeah, serve food, serve food. All right, anyway, I'm waiting, so nice to meet you. Thank you for teaching me that, about the Earth Side Mountain. There, I love that. Now I'm gonna think about every single country. Now I know that I should do that, but I forgot that. Yeah. It's for the hostages, but it's blue, is that on purpose? It's not yellow, so I get it, I was thinking maybe it was. No, I know, but most people wear yellow, and I was thinking, is there a special name?
Well, I guess the white name, right?
Yeah.
That's more on this. Right. It's dark, it's kind of this way.
I see. It's terrible situation. The world is falling apart left, right, and center. Oh, my pleasure. So nice to meet you. No, but you guys gotta go. I'll just take something with me.
No, there's no problem.
Yeah.
Get yourself a sense.
I will. I'll make myself a bagel. It's such nice food.
Yeah, no, I'll take to both.
Yeah, and here we got two,
Yeah.
and we have,
That'd be well with Brian.
we have.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
If you really want to.
Just gonna
No,
copy
I
what's
can
in
take it
it.
to go, is it my phone here? I don't need it.
Yeah, I know, but I think we have, let me see what we have.
Yeah, they're all the same podium, just two at the top.
I
and one
love
doesn't.
bagels.
But they're all the number two base, right? Cause that was the wider base.
Okay.
Yummy.
We're gonna zoom, zoom.
You know, I don't know why they didn't take that theme song, so,
Right?
I know that song too.
They probably couldn't. Sorry. Yes, from Ireland to Greenland.
They could have.
I'm gonna
bought it.
shut off the Zoom, so we don't, we've got all this stuff to trim off the video now.
Boy, the